things that people ought to have in their minds or at the back of their minds. It's a skill that you need to be having to survive in such a country which is quite competitive. Let's have more from this advert.
We are losing out not only on skilled labor but also unskilled. Otherwise, in the countries, most of our Ugandan nationals are very enterprising. We are supported with innovation. There are so many countries of the world which are using domestic languages. The challenge we have in Uganda, education has been tagged to English, whereas it must be tagged to skills, and that's why we have a curriculum and programs for vocational skills. You don't need to come from any background. You can be trained in any aspect, and people can make motor vehicles. People can make cars. People can make so many innovations if we support innovation, not just skilling in terms of language. There's a fusion between language and skills. So we are losing both skilled and unskilled, and many people are enterprising outside there. Some are not educated locally here, but they have the tangible skills which can be mentored, which can be promoted. So we lose out as a country for poor planning. There is no minimum wage in this country. Otherwise, in other countries and jurisdictions, even to be a mechanic is very expensive. But we have very good mechanics locally here who are not paid enough, and they remain loitering. We lose out as a country for poor planning internally for our people of all levels, whether skilled or not skilled. But as well, people are exiting to abroad for so many reasons. Partly is because we have no minimum wage, there is no employment, there is no support. Whenever you hear of any support, it's supporting the rich, not supporting the poor and the upcoming. Equally when it comes to education, there's no education here. We talk of USE, you talk of UPE, but where is it? Most UPE and USE schools are the most expensive ones. So the discussion must be elaborate, that we must support our people in various levels, including aspects and the discussion on minimum wage. So at every job one does, there's a minimum wage. In abroad, you cannot hire a maid. People who produce abroad cannot hire housemaids because they are very expensive, and just because there's a minimum wage for every job. But for us here, maids, no one even knows who is paid what. That's why we hear a lot of domestic challenges. A maid has run away with this, but many times it is out of salaries and frustration.
Now, when you speak about innovation, well, sometimes you get to realize that with the high rate of unemployment in Uganda and the increasing youth unemployment especially, it has sparked off most of the young people to start up some huge innovations, because some of them do have the skills, by the way, but the only challenge that most of them face is the capital to start up a business of their skills, or to at least facilitate them while they are expanding with their innovations. It is something that most of the non-government organizations are trying to help out to most of these young people in the country, while others are actually crying out to different government ministries to seek for support, of which sometimes it comes in, then sometimes it does not come in, whereby you see innovations going out of order simply because there is no one who's going to push for these particular expansions, or to see that these innovations become worldies, if I am to put it in that way. Well, when you look at some countries that are away from us, look at other African countries, for example, where they have a lot of innovations coming on board. Look at countries like Nigeria. Look at our neighbors in Kenya. You get to realize that some of the young people in there, simply because the market space, or rather the job space, is not enough, considering the fact that every other year universities in all countries world over do graduate thousands and thousands of new entrants into the market space. But when you look at that, some of these young people, because they do have support from either the government or non-government organizations or international funders, you find out that their innovations now become a talk in town, or a talk across social media, simply because they have someone who's pushing them. But here in Uganda, some of the young people are still crying out to government, or crying out to possible entrepreneurs, people with the money to help them, to support them. I believe once you support someone, it may not be necessarily giving them the capital or startup capital, or giving them that much money, but also at least attaching them or connecting them to possible investors. Now, these investors may make good use or add value to that particular product that someone has come up with. So in that way, it is something that most of the young people in Uganda have been calling upon the government to at least help them out. And with the fact that we're in the Science Week, this is the Science Week in Uganda. This is something that we wish we can discuss more about. These are discussions that we should not forget to at least mention in any of our discussions wherever we are. But young people here have quite huge innovative skills. Some of them have actually come up with huge projects, but then support has completely failed to see them expand into either a mega business or to at least have a market for their products that they've come out with or they've invented. Let's have more of such a discussion on ground with Barija Andrew.
All right, thank you so much, Joram Paulson. This is Smart Men's Business on Ground, and today the discussion is relying on the Uganda's Innovation Index. And of course, we've been noticing there has been a decline regarding this particular index, for the past years. But then, at the tip of the, let me say, at the top of the discussion, we want to find out whether the launch of the satellite just 2 days back can have a certain impact, but that will come in towards the end of the interview. But let's get to find out what is the cause of the current innovation index in Uganda's innovation industry. Right with me is Mr. Opio. He's the tech community leader of Innovation Village, and of course quite experienced regarding innovations, and he's been quite, of course, exposed to a number of innovation aspects. So let's get some insight regarding this index standing currently. Mr. Opio, you're live on SMB, Smart Men's Business on Ground, and we are talking Uganda's Innovation Index. And based on your experience, what do you think is leading to the current index, which is declining on a daily basis?
Thank you very much, Andrew. First of all, if we look at the Global Innovation Index, according to, let's look at 2021, yes. One that was done by the Intellectual Property Organization, putting Uganda at 119th position out of 132 economies that were selected. When you look at that, of course, we're looking at several indicators, and that should be a number of factors. One of the things that should, of course, inform this is data. Now, if we look at finding information, what is on the ground and all that, it may not be so accurate, but when you look at that position, we are not in a very good place. So in terms of, you may ask yourself and say, okay, why is it that? One, someone will tell you, okay, we have had things around. When we look at the economy in the past years, of course, with COVID coming and all that, we see that of course contributed also so badly, negatively, to what you see right now. From let's look at 2019, which has been going down, and we see it going down even further. But let's pick a few things like the input that is put, that is, the input into the innovation sector. Yes. We look at things related to technology, we're looking at infrastructure. Those are the things we should be putting, yes, even funding. So that is putting Uganda, it should be putting Uganda in a better position. However, when we look at the output from the innovation, looking at the ecosystem, you're going to see that there are challenges around, first of all, yes, you've talked about the funding, but then the biggest challenge also comes with a mindset. We have several processes which are supposed to be taken in terms of, coming up with innovations like what we should be thinking about. Now, Ugandans, given the nature of the economy, we're a poor country. So that means we are thinking about several things, and when we begin looking at how do we take care of ourselves, how do we make sure we earn a living, take care of our families and all that, a bit of things related to innovations are rushed.
Okay.
Just I think just yesterday, one of the developers who happened to be working with some company came to me and was telling me, you know, we're working on a project, and they are not clear. There is nothing, you know. You ask them, what should I give? What input should, I mean, what should I be doing in terms of coding and all that? And the guys are not sure. So I told him, what you do not understand is the process. There's a process of product when it comes to product development. So the knowledge and also the technology, much as we are improving, there is still a lot lacking. And yet in the other countries, you'll find that things to do with technology, infrastructure and all that is way yes, on a higher level. So I believe those are some of the yes, the hindrances and the contributors to the low input. The funding, when you look at, of course, other economies, in terms of innovations, in terms of coming up with innovations alone, Uganda should be in a good place. But then the output, can these innovations then thrive? Can they come out and stand? Okay. That's where the problems, that's where we begin having issues.
Okay. Maybe, Mr. Pio, on that note, what do you think what is that core aspect that needs to be touched? I know so many, of course, we see expos, you know, innovation expos, we see, you know, innovation weeks being put in Uganda, but because I believe the main intention of such is to boost the innovation space in Uganda. But what is it that is not done right, that if once implemented, there must be that core aspect that is hindering that for the innovations to thrive. They start up, but they don't thrive. What is that unique aspect that needs to be touched, the ice-breaking point that will blossom the innovations?
All right, I believe if we are to improve, we need specific structures in terms of supporting innovations. You have seen, like right now we are having, you know, expos, people coming to showcase a lot of things, a lot of innovations that they've come up with. I'll give an example of innovators who have said, you know, they have talked to the president, they went and talked to, I think, the speaker, and, you know, they're telling you, when they speak to these guys, they promise them, please come and we move this forward, we are going to do ABCD around this. And when they get to that place, even reaching out to those people becomes a problem. I think we need to empower sectors like you know, the private sector foundation. Yes. We look at those organizations that directly work with the innovators, the innovation hubs, and all that, to try and put these guys, give them a direction where they really need to be. A good number of people who come up with innovations and all that actually do not even know about the existence of some of these hubs, where they need support and all that. If there is collective effort in trying to support these guys, leave alone, yes, the funding can come in, yeah, it's very key, but in terms of, we need more training. We need more training for the innovators, more connection to mentors, and later on, when all these are sorted, then we can now see them getting to a place where, you know, investors come and they can easily get to, they can easily win more funding to actually move them to another level. But let's take care of the basics, the trainings that they require to get, how do you get to the market from, you know, where you start and, you know, move to the market. Can we handle a bit of those?
Maybe something brief which was so interesting earlier this week. Uganda launched its first satellite. just in 1 minute, do you think that in a way has a way it can improve Uganda's innovation index and put us at a certain place of advantage, at least in Africa?
Yes, I think so. Now that should be touching more of the research bit of it. A lot of information that we use in Uganda may be out of, you know, the sources. The sources may not really give us accurate details on what we need. But the launching of the satellite, of course, that comes with a bit of, should I say, better information, more accurate information that we can begin using. So I believe when we do a lot of research around what is required to help us in the area of improving innovations, and also even for the innovators, what do they need to focus on based on the data that they receive. I believe, yes, it can take us to some level. Now, what we would need is how to access this information. Okay. We may have the satellite launched and all that, but then how do we use it? So we need to understand all those. If used correctly, that should be able to, you know, take us somewhere, make a contribution. I don't want to say it's going to really give us, you know, a 50%, you know, but it should be able to put us in a place where we can, you know, we now have, yes, we have better information, we have, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Opio. It's been good to have this interaction. All right, this is Smart Men's Business on Ground, and today the discussion has been focusing on Uganda's Innovation Index. What are the factors leading to the current index, and of course, getting to realize whether the launch of the satellite will have a certain advantage. It will place Uganda in terms of innovation. And of course, he mentioned a point, the right use of information. How best can the information be used? Back to studio with Joram Paul Sonko.
And all right, skilling and innovation, something that we can as well debate about most of the areas, is that, well, as much as you're innovative and you have the art to come up with something, you will definitely need to skill up. You need to have those skills that can at least make that product become even better than the way you started it. So initially, sometimes you may start up something and it may not be as big or as, you know, as relevant as it should be, but then if you get the rightful minds on the same project, it can become something quite big. We've seen a lot of developments, for example, from the students of Makerere University who started the manufacturing of electric cars. Now we have the Kira EVs. That clearly shows you how innovations and skilling can evolve after a lot of stakeholders coming on board. And mainly, if government cannot step in, private sector players can as well step in to help the young people's innovations to grow. I'm Joram Paul Sonko, and thank you very much for being part of Smart Men's Business today, Thursday, 10th November 2022. Have yourself a blessed day. Till tomorrow, good morning.